it's Miss Brooke here again. So today I wanted to make a video about soil building. So a lot of you might be thinking, what even is that? Why is that important? Well, I'm going to explain it all to you today. So soil building is basically just adding nutrients to your soil to make it the most vibrant, healthy soil that you can possibly have. Now, prepping soil before planting a garden is one of the most key and important things to do, and you might not really necessarily think of that, but it really is super important. A healthy garden always begins with healthy, vibrant soil, packed with nutrients. Just like humans, plants need a balanced diet to grow properly, filled with nutrients and a lot of balance, like I said. And the way that plants get their nutrients is actually through the soil. So now you know why this is so important, is because plants, when they have the proper nutrients, they begin to grow vibrantly, they start flourishing, they're growing bigger and quicker, and that's what we want right in our garden, our plants to grow awesomely. So yeah, this video is just gonna be about how to start building soil, the processes including that. So the first step that I like to tell everyone to do is, first of all, you have to think about where you're going to start planting things if you already have a garden. So you need to see what you're working with. So for instance, at our school, I'm here in the front, and this is an area which I decided would be awesome for a new garden, since we already have stuff growing here, back here, and a few other spots. So this was actually filled with weeds and grass just a few days ago, which, as you can see over here, it looked literally just like this. But myself and Mr. Matthew took it upon ourselves to complete this task of removing all of the weeds and grass that was in here. So the way that we actually did that, I'll show you a little example, is by taking this tool. If you don't have a tool like this at home, that's perfectly fine. You can use a shovel or any tool that helps dig and break up the soil. So what we did was we figured out where a patch of grass was. Obviously it was everywhere. So we just dug this little tool into the ground and basically started digging everything up just like this, twisting the soil around, breaking everything up, and wherever we found grass or weeds, we just plucked that out. So since we already did that part pretty much all already, I'm not going to show you any further, but see, I just found some grass that we missed, so I'm pulling up all the roots. If you watched my weeding video, you'll be able to get a much better understanding of how to remove the weeds and the roots in a proper way. But this is just a quick demonstration of this process. So step number one is to figure out where you're going to be growing your garden, and then making sure that you remove all of the weeds, the grasses, the rocks, the debris, the things that you do not want in your garden at all. And that's step number one. Okay, so now for step two. Step two is adding nutrients to your soil. There's a lot of different options and ways to go about this, so I'm just going to show you with the tools and things that I have on hand right now. So if you've watched my video on composting, that should help you a lot understand this whole process a little bit better. So if you haven't already watched that video, I would suggest going and watching that first. But if you have already watched that video, then now is the perfect time for this for you. So to add nutrients to our soil, there's a few things we want to keep in mind. So just like our composting pile, we want to have equal parts of nitrogen and carbon in our soil, because that just all around helps the quality and the health of the soil become a lot better, because soil needs those two things to be very healthy and active. So if you can recall from my composting video, things like coffee grounds and eggshells are very, very high in nitrogen. So as you can see in these little baggies, I have crushed up eggshells and coffee grounds that I will be adding to the soil, and just not yet. And so another thing to keep in mind, something like coffee grounds has a really, really high content of nitrogen. So to kind of level that out and make it so that our soil is equal parts of everything, we want to add things that will help it be balanced, like carbon materials. So what I mean by that is fresh and dead sticks and leaves and twigs, and also soil that's not broken down yet fully from our compost pile. So like I said, if you have a compost pile at your house already that you've been adding coffee grounds and eggshells and vegetable and fruit scraps to, and that compost pile is very healthy and established, and you can tell when your compost is healthy if the soil comes out looking like this, very black and rich and moist and just beautiful soil, obviously that is. So step number 2 is kind of tricky because it really does depend what you have at your house, what you want to make your garden like, and all of these different factors. So if you have specific questions, I would suggest just asking me them personally. So if you have a very established compost pile at your home, I would suggest just taking that soil alone and mixing that in with your soil that you're planning to use for the garden. So like I said, I'm going to show you how to do that now, but some things that you can buy at the store if you don't have materials like this and you're wanting to add nutrients to your soil are, you can buy compost at the store, you can buy earthworm castings, peat moss, and then all of the plant matter is basically things that you can find in your yard, sticks, leaves, pieces of old grass or whatever. You can use that. Just make sure you don't get the roots in it. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know a few items that you can add to your soil, and now I'm going to be showing you how to do that. So what I like to do is I like to just dump everything that I'm going to be using on top. So for this, I'm going to be using some dead sticks, some compost, some coffee grounds and eggshells, and like you can see, I'm just literally pouring everything on top of the soil. Now, this is not nearly enough, but just for the purposes of my video, I'm showing you just a very small area. But if you were to do this properly at home, I would suggest obviously using a lot more compost, a lot more material. So all I'm gonna do is simply with the shovel or a rake, whatever you have, is just mix in all of this content to the soil that I already have. So I'm literally just mixing all of this stuff into the ground to make sure that it's all going to be evenly spaced out in the area that I want. That looks about good. There's no exact science to it, it's just an estimate. And then I am going to rake it flat, just so that I have a nice even surface. I can see where all of my stuff is. I want to just rake it out, spread the stuff evenly, and yeah, that's pretty much it for step 2. Adding the nutrients to the soil is very, very easy. It's just figuring out what you want to add is kind of the tricky part. Okay, so the final step, step number 3, is to water thoroughly the area that we have just added all of our nutrients and other things to. So make sure that you soak it thoroughly, the whole entire area, and this helps all of the added nutrients to settle, and also make sure that the soil is saturated with all of the nutrients, which is the reason for the water. So just make sure that you water it very, very heavily. Don't be shy with it. Water it like crazy. Make sure that it's very dense. Make sure each and every day for about a week you come out, mix things up and water it. And then in about 1 week, maybe even less, once you notice that all of the components start breaking down and your soil is becoming more rich, then you're ready to plant. Thank you.